My name is Marissa Moley. This presentation, I'm going to discuss students with asthma in health and physical education. So first, what is asthma? It's a respiratory condition marked by spasms in the bronchi and the lungs, and it causes difficulty in breathing. There's two types of asthma, chronic and exercise-induced. Exercise-induced asthma is triggered by prolonged exercise. Now, not everyone who has exercise-induced asthma is necessarily going to have chronic asthma, but everyone who has chronic asthma is going to have exercise-induced asthma as well. It's a very common disease. There are more than 3 million asthma cases per year. And currently there's no cure, but there are treatments, such as the young man who is using the inhaler in this picture here. Now, according to the American Lung Association, there's an asthma action plan. You can see that to the right here. The main thing to be cautious of when having students with asthma in your physical education class, make sure to allow them to have longer warm-up and cool-down periods. Now, according to this action plan, students are categorized into 3 different zones: green, yellow, or red. Green meaning good to go. Student does not need any sort of modifications. Yellow meaning be cautious, be able to start and stop during the activities, make sure the students are in a warm, moist environment if applicable. Red meaning stop the activity, have the inhaler readily available, make sure the student knows how to use the inhaler, and call 911 if necessary. There's many different activities to modify when teaching students with asthma in a physical education classroom. One example I was going to use is the mile run, or really any other highly anaerobic or aerobic activities. First things first, make sure the students are aware that at any time, if they are wheezing, short of breath, feel an attack coming on, they're able to take a break. Make sure to always give them proper rest time, have their inhalers readily available. And like I said, not just the mile run, any activity really where their cardio endurance is going to be pumping, make sure they're aware that they can take a rest when needed. So as far as meeting the Pennsylvania guidelines, below are all the guidelines to really focus on when pertaining to a student with asthma. It's very important to educate the students on many different things. So educate students on asthma and the respiratory system. It's important that these students understand the illness they have and what causes it. So they need to know how to identify, know the location and the function of the major body organs and systems. You need to educate these students on the outside factors that can worsen asthma symptoms. Know their health status and how to take care of it. Specifically, nutrition for students with asthma. High sodium diets affect asthma negatively. It's important to educate the students on that. It's important to educate the students on how to calculate their own heart rate and breathing rate. Obviously, students with asthma, if their breathing rate is skyrocketing quickly, it's important for them to recognize that and take a break. So students should learn how to calculate their own heart rate, determine their level of physical activity. It's important to educate the students on the differences between moderate and vigorous activity. Students with asthma need to know when they're participating in vigorous physical activity, they're going to need more breaks than the student who doesn't have asthma. Their cardiorespiratory endurance. It's one of the components and measurements of how well your heart, lungs, and muscles work together to keep your body active over an extended period. Students with asthma must be aware of the 5 health-related and skill-related components of fitness, especially cardiorespiratory endurance, because it affects them directly. These students also need to be aware of how much cardio exercise they should do in order to increase their cardiorespiratory endurance. They need to be wary of their frequency, intensity, time, and type of exercise. Now, within my health and physical education classrooms, I'll definitely make sure to teach a lesson on the major body organs and systems. I'll have students color and identify on a worksheet the major organs and systems of the body. This will allow students with asthma to better understand where their asthma triggers from, their respiratory system. Obviously, before any physical education class, if we are to go outside, I'll make sure to recognize the air and temperature outside. If it's cold air, very thin, we're not going outside for physical education class. This just increases the risk of students with asthma to have an attack in the thin, cold air. Another major thing I'll definitely do in my health and physical education class is teach students how to record and monitor their own heart rate and breathing rates. So by using stopwatches and showing the students the different parts of their body to feel for a pulse, students can test their resting heart rates. I plan on having my students do 3-minute step tests to measure their cardiorespiratory endurance. So step test as seen in the picture to the left, students step up and down, whether it's a bench or a box like this. Students will have to perform the 3-minute step test, then take and calculate a partner's heart rate. So I'll teach them how to do that. This will give them a better idea of the intensity of the workouts they can do, especially students with asthma, where their breathing rate skyrocketing. They'll be able to gauge how hard and how intense they should be doing their exercise. So through educating students on what asthma is, how, why, and who it affects, and how to monitor and regulate it, I'll provide all the necessary activities and resources for students with asthma to meet Pennsylvania guidelines.